Yeah, I was kind of hoping he would chime in there a little bit, but he's not listening, I suppose, which is okay. Tell me again one more time what you got going on there.
Well, this radio, like I said, it's going to be replacing the Max Track. So what I have to do is I have to interface this with the tone remote controller, the DSP223. It's got a 20-pin accessory connector on the back of the cdm1250. And there's a few pins that you can tap into that allow it to do channel steering on a tone remote system. There's also some programming parameters that you have to adjust within the CPS to enable it, but that's a very easy thing to do since I have all the software and the cables to do that. The other thing I have to do is make the interface, and I believe N4HDF told me that he had done it before, so here's hoping that he might actually chime in at some point.
I will not be turning off my live stream until I
Wasn't me.
just so you know.
There you go. Who is this? K4ERX.
N4HDF. I'm still on a quest of remoting one of those. So it wasn't me. Got the the CPS, I think it's got some instructions on how to do it, or how to set the pins on the accessories. Well, speaking of the devil, good evening to you, sir. How have you been? This is KN4EMK.
Be nice. Oh, okay. Well, he was making reference to you, I think. Yeah. Well, next question is, are you going to do multiple bands with the same controller? I guess. That'd be my next question.
Nothing well. All of that's kind of on hold for the time being, but that's in the plans. Like I said, I've got plans for trenching a few pieces of Cat 5 or Cat 6 out to the shed. That's where everything's going to reside. And that's good. Glad to hear that your project's coming along. I'm still, like I said, I'm still trying to figure this out. I've gotten at least this far to get the equipment up and running, because this CDM hasn't seen any operations since it was in my car years ago. But I'm finally getting around to setting it up. Got the power supply, got the antenna up and everything, and now I just got to figure out what this pinout is supposed to be. So I might just check out Bat Labs and see what they say.
Good deal. Well, so far so good. I think it sounds great. That's 2 radios down. What's next?
And William, as far as all the bands go, yeah, as long as you have a tone remote for each radio, you can do multiple bands on the console.
That makes sense.
And basically what a tone remote is, it's an interface between the radio and the console. Console tells the tone remote what to do, what you want to do, and the tone remote tells the radio what you want to do. So you can have multiple bands. You just have to have multiple radios, and one thing tells each radio what to do. That's absolutely correct. If I get one more tone remote adapter, one more Vega DSP223, I can interface it with, say, I don't know, a 70 centimeter radio or something like that, operate on UHF, or I can interface it with an HF rig and control that as well. The console that I have is a Telex C1616 model, and it has a total of 6 lines. Each line can control a totally separate radio. So I can control up to 6 radios with this console.
Wow.
Not that I'll ever have a need for that many radios in one setup, but
Sure you do.
I have that flexibility.
That's truly impressive. I am envious. Heck yeah, I'd like to do all that. Wow. Don't leave out 10 and 6 meters. I know it'd be, basically FM, but still, I'd like to do 10 meter and 6 meters FM. K4ERX in the group.
N4HDF, yeah, that's kind of a good way to go. The next best way, I think Mike does it. You know, you can internet remote.
Yeah.
A high-end HF or all-band rig and do that way. That's another thing I might be looking into as well, but that's a ways down the road. So, yeah, so this year the plans are study for general, put up a tower or two, and trench in some Cat 5 or 6 into the shed, and then see where we go from there.
KN4EMK in the group. Yeah, I've already trenched in the Cat 6 cable from the house to the shed, and that's the primary control wire to the console and the phone remote. If I do want to expand to another radio or whatever, I'm going to need to, of course, run more. That's a project that I have. But I think right now what I've got is pretty good. Basically the only function I really want to do is be able to get the CDM to change channels on the fly. And of course, tone remotes do that by emitting a sequence of tones that the adapter translates into a function, and then it tells the radio what to do, just like Doug has advised. And it's really cool how you can do that simply just by emitting a very short two-tone sequence. But it's an ingenious design, that's for sure. But getting it interfaced and working is almost as difficult as it was to engineer.
Yeah, I think I can wrap my hand around that. It's very exciting to hear what's going on there. You've got a really good station going. Real proud of you there, and I hope you get complete, done with everything that you want to do. Got some ideas how far you're going, but can't wait to hear what's going on over there when you get it all done.
It'd be kind of neat as well. Oh gosh, that repeater chassis I gave you, that should have a big enough power supply where it should run everything just fine.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to do as well. Yeah, I've got a few things working on this end, and say once I'm gonna find some concrete people to do pouring, and then 40 days for the towers, at least the first one.
It changed hands there.
Going up later, and I got climbing gear, so
Starting to slip out.
Building myself.
William, if you check your messenger, I just sent you a picture of what the current setup in the shed looks like. And Doug, I can't remember if you had a messenger or not. If you wanted to see what I'm working with currently, I'll send it to you as well.
Oops, it's my turn. All right, appreciate it. That's on the other phone. It's charging behind me on the nightstand there across the station, so I'll have to check it out. I've got like 8 different things going on at the same time, but this is most important right now. K4ERX.
Yeah, I just got it, Gavin. Yeah, I just got it. Yeah, so I got about no long employed, so got a lot of projects going. Sometimes I don't work on them much.
Yeah, this is an ongoing project as well, and as you can tell from that picture, it is far from being done. It looks horrendous. But again, work in progress, so eventually all that spaghetti will be taken care of and everything will have its place. But you can see the CDM to the far left, the desk track sitting pretty on top of one of the dead General Electric control stations. Over to the right there is one of the other control stations. On top of that is going to be the
Cursed pollen.
very ultra powerful GE Orion or N7100, whatever you want to call it. That thing is an absolute beast. If I was able to interface that with the antenna remote, I would prefer to use that. However, I can't do it because I lack the cable in order to actually get that function. So the CDM is the next best bet.
Yeah, I probably couldn't agree with you more. Certainly enjoy what I've got here. Got several things covered, and all this pollen's killing me today. Anyways, back to the group. Doug, N4HDF, K4ERX.
N4HDF, you had two lower GE chassis there. We had one of those at the rescue squad. It was a standalone 100-watt VHF unit. But I think we had it.
Sorry about that.
It was going to start out life as being remote to the base of the tower. It was on the roof. I think he ended up just running. I think it was half-inch hardline down. Quarter-inch hardline to the back of the radio. That was a pretty strong unit. I think it was about a 75-foot tower. It's still there on top of the rescue squad building on Waynesford Road, N4HDF.
KN4EMK in the group. Now, I know exactly these old control stations, these old GE chassis. We had one at 14 in Hanover County. And it was one of the, it was the base radio that was tied into the EDAX system before they went P25, if you remember. Gosh, I missed that EDAX system, honestly. It was pretty good. It worked just fine. But no, I ended up getting a couple of these on liquidation, and I gutted them because I like the way they look, and I actually got them working as fully functional repeaters. The one on the left is a UHF, and the one on the right is a VHF repeater, and they work even now. I can turn them on and hook them up to the J-pole that I got, and they will work. I don't remember what their power output is. I think the one on the left is 50 and the VHF is 110. I'd have to double check though, but for the life of me, I can't remember what frequency they're programmed for, so that's a different project for another time.
Most of my experience, I think, is with Motorola Radius GM300. I think it was back then. Back in the 90s, used to use one for what they call takeout taxi. Gavin probably knows what that is. And used to occasionally connect with another radio friend of mine. Same frequency, different license on the commercial spectrum. But he recognized my voice immediately the first time. And he talked to me on the channel there. And I got in a little trouble for it because, well, you can't talk to that guy. It's not your license or whatever. So... But that, and at the Stone store, they had 2-channel radios in all the trucks, and some down at the farm too. So mostly the mobile stuff, rarely the desktop and consoles.
Yeah, that line of radios probably saved a lot of Motorola. The Radius and the Maxtrack. They sold a whole lot of those in all bands, in all the business bands. Low band up to 800 megahertz. And just a pile of them. Matter of fact, a lot of the trunking services we use now is the MaxTrack 800 was probably the granddaddy of them all, and that and the Traxar. For businesses, I was located at No Cuts back in the late 90s. We all had handhelds, radio communications system. How it was configured about really south of Midway County, I can talk to my pretty much up to Carolina. It was just receiving at one site, audio coming out at the Northern site.
Oh, the old Radius and MaxTrack. I have, like I said, the Nest Track is technically just a MaxTrack they converted into a consolette, but they are probably some of the most robust and reliable radios that Motorola ever pushed out. Well, mobiles anyway. But I swear by them, and the cdm1250, well, the CDM class in general was actually probably a very close second. These are also very, very reliable little radios, and they're easy to program. Parts are everywhere. They're relatively cheap now. And plus, they look really cool. And they come in a very compact styling, so you can, easily put like 3 or 4 of these radios in a go box and, have yourself a nice little multi-band setup. So these are very good little mobiles to have, the CDMs as well as the MaxTracks. MaxTracks are on the clunkier side. They had issues with their power amplifiers, I know that. And they also, since they're much older, they run on DOS programming software, which good luck finding that anymore. I have a copy, but it's not one. It's not like a one glove fits all sort of situation. There's different versions, unfortunately, that you have to be aware of. But I have the ones that work for my MaxTrack, and I guess that's all I need for right now.
Yeah, unless you plan on Trump mounting all that in the Mercury or in the Suburban Assault Vehicle, there's plenty of room in that thing. You could do all that for both vehicles. I had to pop that finger.
Yeah, and the radios have a distinction of outliving the computers that actually program them. I did have some DOS. I did have a couple of DOS radios computers that I did my programming with them. Now I went belly up, so I can't do anything with them. I think I got one more that might do an M1225. I haven't tried powering it up in a long time. And the one that I do have, I tried reading it a couple of years ago. It just wouldn't read it. So.
I need a stinking tripod, something awful.
The biggest issue that I've had with this particular radio is just the fact it overheats really quickly.
Speaking of,
has its own built-in cooling consolette, but the CDM, I'm going to have to affix it into some sort of console configuration and put a fan on it somehow, because this thing really does turn into an oven. So I will have to account for that.
Yeah, I just checked the spectra here. Normally it gets kind of hot, sometimes down around 20 watts or so with conversations like this. Right now it's doing just fine. And my household air conditioner is doing its job. So it's not a really big deal as far as that goes. But it seems to be doing fine, holding up very well. I usually don't have any problems with this radio. And the CM300 does just fine too, because it's up there where it circulates just fine. I don't have to put a fan directly on it, but they do their jobs for the conversation, that's for sure.
K4MC 220 repeater system.
What?
Not aware of any, but just pause for a little bit. Any other station on the air wishing to chime in, go ahead and do so now. This is Kilo November 4 Echo Mike Kilo.
All right, that's a good break. Yeah, that's pretty good conversation here. It's a little over my head, of course. It's outside of my realm. Being the operator that I am. But anyways, KN4EMK, N4HDF, K4ARX as a group.
Yeah, the heat sink on the Spectrum is pretty robust. And, everybody says, the transmitters get hot, and they do. But it has more of a heat sink than a lot of radios do, commercial and otherwise. There's a lot of folks that are fairly long-winded, on an amateur radio. I won't say amateur grade, but the ICOMs and Kenwoods, that sort. And they have a relatively small, heat sink, but they also have fans as well.
Yeah, the CDM is mostly heat sink underneath, and then if you look at the M7100, it's nothing but a heat sink. The radio itself is maybe only about 3 or 4 inches across, and then the whole backside of it is nothing but a large heat sink. So GE kind of did it right. Motorola put a plastic beauty cover on the top of the cdm1250, which just holds and traps heat. But I see what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it look aesthetically pleasing. But if you pry that off of there, it exposes, of course, the PCB. But most of the top of the heat sink on the CDM is covered by a plastic shell. I don't really know what they were thinking, but okay.
They're cheap. Not to get too far off topic, you guys going to any Swap Fest anytime soon? Pardon me.
Yeah, I'm planning on going. I went down to Raleigh Saturday.
Cool.
And that was a day out of Richmond. I generally go and look for commercial gear, and there was not a bunch of commercial gear there. They had some vendors, but really didn't have anything there that I was looking for. But, that's the way it goes. And, yeah, I'm planning on going to this Swap Fest. 20th. I know there's something coming up, Fall Fest, I think. Rutgers coming up Saturday, but I don't know that.
KN4EMK. No, nothing planned. I don't really foresee myself going because I already have enough gear, and I don't really have a plan for a lot of it. And I feel like if I go there, I'm just going to be feeding a disease. So at this point, no, I'm just going to stay put and try sorting through what I've got, because there is. I don't know if Doug has ever seen how much I have acquired here, but I have way too much. And in that picture alone, you can probably see in the top left corner of the picture, there is a bunch of Maycom gear just sitting up there. I have no idea what to do with it, except just let it sit here and rot.
Well, you can always run 1 or 2 of those through their riggers and program them locally, simplex and pairs, and donate one of those over here for the shack, and I'll put it to use. It'll never happen.
Yeah, I thought that's what they were with the red stripe. I recognize them as Ericsson, but same. I think it's kind of same deal, just different name. And they were different. They worked well. They were just different. But yeah, I'm planning on going to Swap Fest. I've pared down a lot of what I've got, but not a whole bunch of what I've got. I still got a way more portable than I should have. And a couple of mobile, this and that. Yeah, junk.
Oh, boat anchors.
Yeah, you can say that again. Junk. I have a lot of junk piled up in here. I'm actually looking through my one of my drawers on that desk, and I found the mother load of General Electric MPA portables. Doug, I know you know exactly which ones I'm talking about. These giant bricks, beasts of burden from the 1980s and 90s that GE called their flagship radio, where the battery was the majority of the entire handset. So I got about like 20 of those sitting in this drawer. I have a
Oh my gosh.
Saber and some XTS 3000s that I'm seeing, and what is this? An Ericsson MRK. Ugly little thing, but it's here.
Gavin, I think you're one of the few guys I know that has more than one junk drawer. And they're all put to good use. Very good use. K4ARX in the group.
N4HDF. Yeah. I don't think Henrico ever had any of them. I think the Rescue Squad had some. The Master. The Master line. I don't think they were Master 2s yet. Handhelds. They were about a 4.5 inch by 8 inch tall portable. Of course, Motorola had the same version. They called it an MH70. MH10 for single channel, MH70 for 4 channel. And the fire department had a bunch of those. And in about 81, they went to a voted GE system, and that's when it went to the called the MP series, but they were fairly thin radios for the time, and wasn't really big and bulky. They were fairly heavy, and you could get them up to an 8-frequency configuration.
Here comes the messages.
I just sent you a picture of what they look like. Insanely bulky, heavy. One of those weighs probably about 3 pounds on its own. All aluminum casing. These probably rivaled the build quality of any Motorola. I'm just going to put that out there. These things are very, very tanky. So I might actually get some of these working again. Well, I think they all work. I just think that the batteries are all dead. KN4EMK.
Yeah, that's probably the big expense of any of those radios is having to replace the batteries if you don't build them yourself. Build the packs, that is. And that'd be good for your rucksack if you have one. You could, fill 3 or 4 pockets of those things, and that's 20 pounds as it is.
N4HDF. Yeah, they were an offshoot of the DDAX.
Oh, seat adjustment.
I forget they had push buttons to change channels, talk groups. I forgot what GE called them. Radios didn't have an on-off switch. The batteries had the on-off switch, which, like I say, different.
That's weird.
You want to try that?
Oh, I think you're talking about the MPD. Yeah, the MPA's older brother. The MPD was just like the MPA as far as just they're weird. The on-off switch is built on the battery, which very unorthodox. I've never seen that done before. I don't know why GE chose to do it that way. Nobody really knows why.
Just to be different.
They did. They were just kind of an enigma in the communications society. That's just how it was. They called, PL tones, what was it, channel guard? They had their own iteration for every idea and called it their own, even though they copied off of somebody else. I think that the power switch on the battery was their own trademark, and that's just what
Sure.
That yeah, you just knew when you bought a GE radio, it was proprietary. Nothing was ever going to be found on the in aftermarket. And EDAX was weird. I remember having to service a couple of the EDAX radios when they were in use, and the trunking system itself was just awkward. But it was inherently fault tolerant. If the master site ever went down, the guessies would trunk amongst themselves at any of the slave sites without intervention, whereas the P25 system requires a command in order to turn one of the not the soundcast, but the sub-sites into the new master. EDAX did that natively without any outside input, and that was big.
Whoops. Just scanning for there. Sorry about that. The Spectre went off into La La Land. It was set to scan mode, and I let it drop long enough, and ended up on the net, I think, over in Chesterfield. I'm not sure. But anyways, it was there, and I was not here. So that explains the delay.
Yeah, scan will do that to you sometimes. I know I've been monitoring, scanning myself, and there was a nut going on one of the repeaters. Well, I would hit, my stuff was set up to where if I hit press and hold scan, it would loosen delete it. It would just temporarily take it out of the scan list. So I wouldn't be listening to the net.
Weird.
Somebody would pop up on another repeater, checking into the net. So yeah, scan sometimes will get you where you don't want to be, kind of quick, fast, in a hurry.
Oh, he's sending a message.
I just sent y'all another picture. The one in the middle is the MPD. That's the one you're probably very familiar with there, Doug, as that was widely used in Henrico County as well as Hanover County whenever the EDAX system was still employed. Arguably one of the best radios that they had put out, but also one of the most quirky. Because as you can see, there's absolutely no knobs on this thing, and over time the volume button on the top of the radio would stop working because it has like a membrane type configuration, and that would just not work anymore.
Yeah, those are interesting. How do you heat that shack? I don't see any insulation. Where's that the shed?
Now, what we had predates that, the MPD. I thought it was an M series, but I don't know now. The other one next to it looks like a Midland, but they may be. I almost seem to remember a G looking like that too. I think it was private label by somebody else, Ritron maybe. I don't know.
Oh no, that radio is a Regency, otherwise known as Realm or BK radio.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those laying around before. I knew a guy that collected a lot of that stuff. I mean, a lot of that stuff. But he would put, a good bit of it back into service, and plenty laying around just for parts.
Yeah, a friend of mine had a mobile that was, I think it was a Realm, that was private label for or one of the iterations, and it was a pretty decent radio. He had it set up pretty good. It was close, but whoever programmed it didn't pay a lot of attention to what they were doing, so PO tones were off or whatever. and but he passed before he could get it straightened out.
Well, fellas, I hate to cut it short, but it is dark out, and I got to clean up the shed, get the lawnmower put back inside here. I made absolutely no progress on getting the interface done, but at least I got the radio working, so that's kind of the main goal. So what I'm going to do now is going to hook up the desk track back up, so at least I have the tone remote to work with, and yeah, I guess I'll tackle this project tomorrow when the sun is stacked in a wave. So this is 7-3 to you guys, and catch you around. This is KN4EMK clear on your final.
All right, nice job there, Gavin. You're gonna have to invite us out sometime to show us around. Pull the tractor back out so we can walk inside and have a look. I suppose it's not like it's a small shed. Kind of surprised you don't have any racks set up yet. And kind of off the desk there, have a clear space to work, and everything else will be kind of hanging around. And it's just some ideas, no big deal. Kind of think like that in advance, I guess. You've seen what I've done. It's kind of the same setup. But anyways, 7-3 to you. It's good talking to you, and glad to help you out where I can when I can. KN4EMK and N4HDF. I don't know why I got tongue tied with that. K4ARX.
Fellas, good catching up with you. Gavin, William, I'll send you a couple of pictures as well. I'll send you pictures of the current status of the shacks. So I'll catch up with y'all later. Both of you have a good evening. November 4, Hotel Delta Foxtrot.
That's some really good news. I'm glad to hear all that. That's really good news. I've been wondering how long Gavin's going to take on that. I know he's a busy man too. Everybody I know is busy. They don't have a whole lot of time for the hobby. They're working so hard. Then they have other hobbies, families, and other engagements and responsibilities. But Gavin's pretty neat to keep up with. He's very knowledgeable, former dispatcher, truck parts guy, auto parts guy. Cool guy to hang out with.